introduce her to everyone and go on like this other trip where he goes and visits his individual family members
with her.
with her.
Okay.
So he plans a trip to here. He plans a trip to various cities where my other siblings. I have 4 siblings who live out of the state where they live, and anyway, it's been a real conflict that has caused us a lot of stress and in interactions between ourselves. I have an older brother who doesn't really think it's a problem.
Okay.
He lives with my father. He thinks that we're being unfair, and that my father would be very depressed if it weren't for this relationship. So his sense is that we are not being caring enough about this woman's feelings.
The woman's and your father's.
Correct.
I see.
So this Christmas was a big stress point for us because we got together as a family. And my oldest brother had to tell my dad, I'm happy to meet her, but I do not want her to be around the family for at least the 2 or 3 days that we're all together.
Okay. And how did your dad react to that?
He was not happy about it, but he followed that. And I'm trying to remember, did he stay at home? He went over to her place at night sometimes, but she did not come over to our house while everybody was together.
Okay. And how long has he been dating this woman in particular?
I think it's almost 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
That's what he tells us, though.
Okay.
You know, we
Sure.
weren't as aware in the beginning about it, but then from what he has since told us, that it's been about 2 years.
Okay. So it was this past Christmas that he was there during the day.
Yeah.
She did not come.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming this caused stress between you and the other members of your family, your siblings and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did was there any sort of resolution after the fact, or how would you say you left things with the rest of your family?
It's that's a good question. The rest of the family is still processing it, I think. There's a lot of email communications. There's some phone conversations, but most recently was my father communicating to us on email about how he was disappointed that there wasn't more acceptance of her, and that no, it really hasn't been resolved in any way still. We're all still kind of, I think we're all still kind of frustrated by my father's seeming lack of understanding of where we all feel that as a family unit we are concerned that we don't have any connection to this person. And his concern is that we're not trying to have a connection with her. And at least from one perspective, my oldest brother was like, I don't want to have a connection with her. There are at least 2 or 3 of the 7 of us who feel that way. They do not want to have a connection with this person because they don't need to in there. They don't have the space in their lives for her.
Right.
And my father is very disappointed by that.
Well, so you're saying that several members of your family, you and your siblings, don't really have time for a connection with her, or don't want a connection with her. What is it, do you think, your father is looking for in terms of a connection? I mean, is he looking for you to look at her like a stepmother, or just someone that you can accept having around?
I don't think he wants her to be a stepmother, because I think he just wants us to recognize her and to, he wants us to admire her for the things that he does. I think that he wants us to feel like this is an important person in our family.
I see.
And that she is someone who means quite a good deal to him. And that because he is going to spend this much time with her, that we all should too, I guess. And that, you know, he keeps reiterating how much he's told us about her. He likes to go on about people's sort of almost like a resume.
Yeah.
You know, this is one thing about her, this is another, let me tell you about her background. And then he feels like he is related to, you know, he feels like he has introduced her in a way that unfortunately doesn't really work in person.
So he's kind of trying to sell her.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. He has. Yeah, so.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering what, given all this, would maybe make you feel better. What do you think your goal is at this point, or what you want out of your relationship with him? Maybe realistically, what could we be working on about this?
So I'd like to learn some communication skills.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's the hardest thing I have had to deal with, is communicating to my father how this hurts my family. So my relationship with him has suffered, and that I don't want to talk to him about her anymore. I'm just kind of tired of the subject, you know, like I have accepted that she's part of his life, but I just don't want to have to keep reiterating it. And so, but I don't, I think the other thing is when I call him, I know that he's with her, and so it's sort of hard to communicate to him in a way. He like wants to put me on speakerphone.
Right, okay.
I'm like, no, I don't want to be on speakerphone with this, you know, other person listening. I need to communicate to him what he seems to be missing out on, which is my children. And that's a whole nother issue, like in my life, but about how connected I feel to my family. So I'd like to work on definitely communication, of how I can communicate my, I don't know, displeasure without being angry about it. I think I've worked on that pretty well, but when he comes back, and this is the thing that happened at Christmas, we had several communications where his adamance, he's just adamant about, oh, well, nobody accepts her, and I think it's, anyway, I can't seem to communicate to him that as much as I accept that he has this person in his life, she's never going to be more important to me than he is. She's never going to be more important to me than my mother is, and all my siblings will come before hers as well. So if it's hurting my siblings, like my younger sister is hurt by it, or my niece gets hurt by it, I feel like that's something that I need him to understand, and I can't seem to communicate that to him.
These are the most, I think, difficult situations, especially with a large family, because you've got so many people involved. But it sounds to me like you're doing well with that. I mean, I know it's upsetting to you and the other members of the family, but it sounds like you're kind of taking the right attitude toward it. Dealing with her and accepting her as best you can, but still sort of maintaining your own space and your own ideas about how your family should be. I'm wondering if more than the stress with him, I'm wondering what is more difficult for you, if it's the stress with your extended family, or if it's the stress of communicating what you want to communicate to him. Would you say it's more what you want to communicate with him that you're struggling with, or?
Actually, the former, like the communication, I think that is secondary now to the stress with the other part of the family. I hadn't thought of it that way, because it's a strain that when I do talk to my siblings, just in casual conversation, it's either the tact to avoid talking about Dad, or to take a segment of our time to talk about what Dad's done recently. Or have you talked to him, or you know, it's kind of the elephant in the room amidst all of our conversations. So guess that's a good point. I haven't really thought of.
Yeah, it seems like there's a couple of things. I mean, one, you can kind of reconcile yourself to what your dad wants and have this woman in your life, in your home, even if you don't really like it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're still going to have the stress with your family because maybe they think you've taken his side or something to that effect. I'm wondering if that would be more stressful or help the situation.
I don't think it would be more stressful so much as, I mean, I think my siblings are all well enough aware that, I think my husband's been clear enough with most of them to show them that we're not really on board with it, but if I want my father to be a part of my life and my children's lives, I've made a decision that they will see him. And if it means seeing her too, then they will see her too. And I will have to figure out when they get old enough to describe to them, if she's still in the picture, who she is and what that means. I think that my siblings understand that and don't hold it against me, I hope. But that, I don't know, it's I know with at least one of them, and my brother, that he's made his choice and he does not want this woman in his life. I don't think that he would hold it against me for having her in my house. But I think he would be adamant that she will not be part of any kind of, and that's where I think that there's still a lot more communication that has to happen between the siblings, because I'm pretty sure that my dad intends to bring her, unless something happens between now and December. My dad intends for her to come to my niece's wedding.
Okay, so as of right now, it stands that he's coming to the wedding with her. Does that mean your brother, the brother who's really opposed to this, will not go to the wedding, or does that mean he would?
I can't imagine. I can't imagine that he would. I can't imagine he would, but I don't know. It's a really interesting question. Because it's not, yeah. I think that he would still do it for my niece, but that he would insist on like any pictures being taken without her, and I'm sure Samantha would also. She would not want that to be. I don't think she would want that in the pictures. I think it's just a question of like, it's just, it's already hard enough like when you have a family this big.
Yes.
So when you introduce like obvious thorns that you could just avoid,
Right.
I think we're so used to having that sense of just avoiding the ugly stuff, and we're not. I hate to say it, but like we're a family that my mother helped train in a sense of like when you get together with family, other like extended family, it's like these are the things we don't talk about. Like this is the decorum.
The Southern values, yes.
There's a Southern value thing. And so, don't say this guy's name, don't say this, and so we were all raised in this way to kind of avoid issues of conflict. And so when you get to an adult age and you're thinking like, well, this is how we were all, like, it's just so built into the system that I think that's why I struggle with it so much.
So it sounds kind of like you're struggling almost more with the what you think your behavior, excuse me, I'm sorry, what your dad and maybe other people are expecting you to do. Sort of the expectation of how you should behave versus how you actually feel.
That's yeah, that's valid.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I've gotten a good idea of kind of where you're at and what's going on. When is the wedding?
December.
Okay, so you've got some time when that happens. Okay, well, I'm thinking that what we should do from here is continue to think about things that might make you feel a little better. Maybe accepting, the way things are going to be with your dad. But just because you accept it doesn't mean that you agree with it or that you have to like it.
Yeah.
But we do want to find some ways to kind of decrease your stress and irritation surrounding the problem. So maybe we can work on that for next time.
That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.